Hi! I've mentioned this in some of my other videos, so hopefully this will be a very quick video, just kind of talking about informative just a little bit more, and specifically in terms of how informative differs from persuasion. Okay, so most scholars, I'm going to go out and say most scholars don't actually believe in pure information. They think that information always has some type of bias, framework, etc. To show that, I'm going to talk about persuasion and how we think people start persuading. Do you know who the best persuaders of all time are? Think about it. Persuade best people at persuasion of all time. Babies. Babies are fantastic at persuasion. Feed me. Ah! Change me. Ah! Right? Like that baby starts crying, you're like, what can I do for you? How can I help you? Right? Like babies are not informative, babies are persuasive. Um, so there's some theory, a lot of theories really think that like everything we do is motivated by some type of like want, desire, manipulation, something like that. And I'm not using manipulation in terms of like unethical manipulation. I'm using it in terms of like, how am I trying to get what I want, or how am I trying to get you to help me, even if I'm doing so super ethically, right? Though we could debate the ethics of babies, couldn't we now? Okay, so thinking about information, you want to think of, I should say, I like to think of information and informative speaking as a gift. And these are gifts that you find for your audience and give to them. You're like, look what I found for you. I found some statistics on how this thing matters. How here, look it. Think about the coronavirus. That's a really popular thing and topic right now. Every time I see something that tells me information about the coronavirus, I think, what a gift, right? Hey, I am the CDC, and I am telling you that you should stop petting dogs. Believe me, I was not excited about this gift because I have a neighbor dog named Max who is the single sweetest dog I've ever met, ever known in my entire life. All he wants is loves. And now I can't love on him because the CDC says that pets might be able to pass the disease. They had this information, they found it out, they sent me an article. Actually, my partner sent me the article and said no more petting Max. Sad face. Um so information, you're still crafting it, which is where we get kind of like, it is still informative. So the reason that I think this is difficult, right, is because these are so messy, blessy, okay? So here's how I delineate it. And I talked about this before, but I'm going to tell you again because I think it's so difficult sometimes for people to understand this. When you find information and give it in a way that you're being open, honest, and ethical, your hands are pure. You're not telling the audience what to do. They don't know how you feel. You just found it. Okay? And it might be complicated. You might have a bunch of different information that you found that has different aspects. For example, you can find controversial information, right? You can find a person saying, I'll use abortion because abortion's really a popular topic. Content warning if you have a hard time talking about abortion. You can find somebody that says abortion is murder. Now, that's not you saying abortion is murder. I have had students stand up. I had a student once stand up and say abortion is murder. And I was like, not only is that not informative, that's terrible persuasion. And then he quoted the Bible, which most people don't consider a modern vetted source. It is a source, but not in terms of something that everybody buys or believes in, right? So, and if you do, great, but I'm talking in terms of the audience, right? Like thinking about this in terms of the audience. If you find these controversial aspects, they need to come from someone else. If you can find an expert saying it, if you can find a testimonial, if you can say this many people think this, that's all information. Look, I found it. Look at what I found. I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm not telling you how to feel about it. One of my least favorite, like one of my, I think it's really funny when speakers will say, this many people died of this, and it's a big, horrible number, and then they'll go, isn't that crazy? And I'll be like, oh my God, you don't need to tell me that's crazy. I know it's crazy. You just told me a big, scary number. Maybe put it in context so I can feel how crazy it is, but don't tell me it's crazy. So the minute you start telling me stuff, you should sleep more. You should not, steroids are bad. Like the minute you start telling me stuff, look at how my hands come down. They're not up here in nice informative land anymore. They're down here mucking with my business, telling me how to feel about things. Now, when we get to persuasion, I'm going to help you do that in a really helpful, ethical way, right? Where your hands come down, you're like, here's the argument, hello, right? But right now, usually what happens is they come down in a really, like, non-persuasive way, and we're not even supposed to be doing persuasive, we're supposed to be doing informative, with our hands up here. Girl, right? Girl, side note, girl, G-U-R-L, is a term I use all the time. And I use it for everybody. I use it as a gender neutral term. So if you don't like that, please email me and let me know. But just so you know, if I'm saying girl, I'm including all of you because girl. Okay, so hands up, informative. I found this informative. And you want to make sure that you're finding all sorts of information, right? That you're not just finding some of the information and saying, don't look over here. No, don't look over here. Just look over here. Just look over here. Don't look at this information. That's not ethical informative, right? You want your hands up and you want to make sure a plethora of information, okay? Now, you can't tell me everything. You don't have time. You got 3 to 5 minutes. So you're going to craft that information and think to yourself, as the audience, what do they need to know about this? What will help them know about this topic? What are the different perspectives? So a lot of people think most topics are sides. I don't like thinking that way. I like thinking in perspectives, right? If I am talking about abortion, I'm going to certainly need to do the pro-life perspective. I'm certainly going to need to do the pro-choice perspective. But I'm also going to need to do the people who would never have an abortion but consider themselves pro-choice. I'm also going to have to talk about the history of abortion and how those terms have changed over the years. I'm also going to have to mention that, like, these different perspectives take into consideration different things. Some are focused more on the mother's body, some are focused more on the fetus or the baby, right? Some call it abortion, some call it reproductive rights. Even the name we use is persuasive. Wow, right? So see, isn't this exciting? So you probably have lots of choices to make, but as you're making those choices, check to make sure your hands are up here. Even simple topics, like the one I always think of is when people want to tell me to get more, they want to do sleep habits. And then they try to do an informative where they give me tips on how to sleep better. The minute you start giving me tips on how to sleep better, boom, your hands are down. You see what I'm saying? You're telling me what to do. You're mucking up my business. Now, if you found an expert that says, here's what we need to do, I think you can say that. But you also may need to say, well, there's other experts that say different things because we don't have a finite idea about what sleep is and the tips for it, right? We've got general ideas, but the minute you pick and choose, boom, persuasive. Do you see what I'm saying? Hands are down here. So keep those hands up as you start crafting this topic and searching for information.